All right, cool. So now that is all set up, now we're starting 8:35, and then I'll just start with a couple of questions for Stephanie. So, guys, welcome. It's going to be a very, very fantastic conversation we're going to have tonight. Again, the topic is the future of clinical research industry, leveraging automation technology to deliver safe and quality clinical trials. So now, so Stephanie,
Happy to
first
be
off,
here. First
yeah,
off,
yeah,
thank you.
I'm, I'm super excited as well. At least from our first conversation. So we just want to know you a little bit more. Like, how did you, how did you find yourself in clinical trials or technology company working in clinical trials? How did that happen?
Yeah,
And yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, go on.
And I did prepare some slides. So I'll go ahead and share them, but we can make
Sure,
this very like conversational. We don't have to go
sure.
through slides like that. We certainly can, just chat. But if you ask me a question and I have a slide, I'll just pop it up because I'm a
Hmm.
person who likes visuals. Um
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and this is actually the only slide I attempted to make a joke, so I thought, I would put it up there so maybe somebody might laugh. I don't know. Um,
Yes.
so I got my start in clinical research because I went to college for imaging of scientific imaging, basically, and I took a specialization in ophthalmic imaging. Now, ophthalmic imaging has a certification exam, which is called the Certified Retinal Angiographer. So that what that means is I was a CRA before I even really worked in research. So it was a different kind of CRA. And so that was my
Yeah.
my one little joke is whenever I interviewed in a
Hmm.
research position, I always had to explain I'm not that kind of CRA. I'm a different kind of CRA.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure that would have gone in your resume and that'd be very funny.
Yes, yes. And would often say it again and again because I'd never wanted to, misconstrue anybody with that
Mhm.
information.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So after graduating, I worked at research sites in ophthalmology, where I was performing standard of care retinal imaging as well as research procedures, and working kind of as an ancillary staff member, but also in a lot of studies working and doing things that CRCs would do. So, you know, ophthalmology being very niche, it just all kind of ends up blending together, and especially retina being even more niche than general ophthalmology. Um, so yeah, that's how I got my start into research. I also was a manager at the site, managing the other imagers. So I kind of got my foot in the door, doing that. And from there, I went and worked at a sponsor, as a clinical trials manager, and it just did not fit for me. I felt like it was just not for my personality. I like to talk. I like to feel like I'm doing something that helps, and the position I was in, just it wasn't the right fit. Um, so I was looking into different options out there on the market, and seeing that my previous role was actually at a um ophthalmic device company, I kind of was thinking along the same lines of let's work for somebody who like makes something. Like let's work for, some kind of industry partner that is, producing a product that I can believe in and yet still staying in research. And that's how I found CRIO. So CRIO has been a great fit ever since, working in sales and being able to talk with people like you, being able to feel like I, get to give back to the research community, that gave me so much over 14 years. So that's kind of how I got here today.
Wow. Absolutely. I mean, I like the fact that you were able to actually spot and say, okay, this is not for me. And that's something like take home for a lot of people as well. Because there are sometimes where we actually get into some of these positions, may not necessarily fit the kind of, because one of the things is you need to kind of find that purpose in what you do and truly enjoy it, even when, because like again, like we know in research, like they say, it's difficult. Research is not just, it's not a
Absolutely.
tea party, it's difficult. So for you to go out every day, you need to be inspired and motivated to do what you do. And I really appreciate the fact that you're able to, you know, identify that what was working for you and what wasn't, and then you made
Yeah.
the necessary switch. That's very,
And
cool.
you have to try new things, because I mean,
Hmm.
really, I would not be here today if I wasn't willing to try new things, because
Absolutely.
I left the site world to be a clinical trial manager and it didn't work out for me. So
Hmm.
sometimes taking a risk, it isn't necessarily always going to end up positive, but as long as you keep going, keep looking for opportunities, you will land in a place that I believe that, hard work lands you in a place that will work for you and that you can enjoy, like you said. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. Another question I had here was, so with what you now know, working in a technology company, I don't know how long you've been in CRIO now. With what you now know, from the technology side of things, how do you think like the workplace will be influenced? Will automation technology, like the one that CRIO runs, kind of take all us out from our jobs? Or is it gonna, like, what would technology really do? What do you, where do you see, or what do you see the future looking like for the workplace?
yeah, I think the future is bright for folks like you, folks that are willing to continue to educate themselves in areas like technology, for folks that are willing to align themselves with technology and not against technology. Like, yes, there will be changes. And I do, after when we talk about CRIO a little bit and kind of the impact I see CRIO having on the job fields out there, I do think that there will be pretty big changes, but in the same hand, it just means that the workforce has to be, smarter in different ways. I think they're all going to be positive changes, and anybody, who's scared or resistant to that, I mean, I can understand that. Certainly, of course, it's a scary thing to think about, the field that you work in changing in a way that might not, necessarily have as many positions or something like that. But I think that all of you are showing that by even showing up here tonight, you want to learn, you want to grow with the industry. And so I think that can only be a positive thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another question I wanted to ask real quick was, um, so you know, what what does CRIO actually do, and
Yeah,
what's really CRIO in and then what kind of products do you guys actually offer, and who do you offer them to?
sure. So I'll just kind of run through these slides, won't take too long. In fact, I was gonna stop sharing for a moment. I'm gonna play um actually share my other screen. Desktop 2. There we go. That way there we go. Okay, you can see my screen now.
Absolutely, yes, we can.
Okay. Do you see
Mhm.
the presenter view or do you see the full screen?
I see the presenter view, not the full screen
Okay.
yet.
All right, let me switch it. Sorry. I'm
Yeah, that's
used
fine.
to I'm used to Google Meets is our mode of
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
but
yeah.
this will work. Yeah, I'll just got to get there for a second. Um okay. Can you see my full screen now?
No, it's just showing the presenters. Okay, yeah, the full screen. I see it now. Yes.
Presenter view. Dell, now you see it?
Yeah, it just shows the two screens, and then that's the presenter mode on
Lock
one
the sleeve.
Creo.
Okay, there we go.
Mhm.
Now is it good?
Yeah, yeah. Now it's good. Yes, now
Okay,
it's it.
perfect. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Nah,
I come
that's
from
fine.
a tech company. You'd think I could get the tech right.
Exactly. Right.
All
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
So CRIO is clinicalresearch.io, formerly known as clinicalresearch.io, now known as CRIO, is a leading provider for e-source technology. We have 2,000 research sites that are already using CRIO, and that's to say there are about 6,000 protocols that are being run through the CRIO system. And what that means is there's 800 sponsors that already have data being housed electronically inside of CRIO. Now, we are across 18 countries, but I'm very sad to say that Nigeria is not one of them. But maybe we can make that change sometime soon. I'm
Hopefully.
hoping
Yeah.
so. So this shows you our footprint around the globe right now.
Wow.
And then CRIO is a really innovative company. So we've really have a history of firsts. We came up with eSource in 2016. Our founder, Raymond Namizu, he actually owned a research site before starting CRIO. And he really felt like he didn't have the technology to kind of scale up his research site. So he started CRIO instead. He literally sold his research site and was like, I'm going to make the tech that I wish that I had. And then from there on, he's just been constantly innovative and coming up with new ideas and things that we can do to make the research industry better. And I honestly always describe Raymond as the man who wants to change the world, not necessarily the businessman. And I mean, obviously, he owns a business, he runs CRIO, so certainly, he is a businessman. But in the same regard, he really does want to change the way the industry is run. And I think you can see that in our history of the things we've decided to develop. So currently we offer eSource, which we're going to talk about a lot in a moment. But we also offer e-regulatory, which is going to be document management for all your regulatory docs, all of your electronic delegation log, training tracker, all these things are housed in that e-reg solution. We also have e-consent, and then we have CTMS, which is going to be probably what y'all are most familiar with. It seems like this day and age research sites, they really can't run too many studies without a CTMS. If they don't have a CTMS, then likely they're tracking on these types of things on an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, because it just has to be tracked somewhere. And traditionally, Excels were previous to CTMS. Please interrupt with any questions if you think of anything.
No, just go on.
Okay. So eSource is going to be your electronic data capture, replacing these paper binders, as you see on the left. I know you all probably have experience looking at shelves and rows and rows and rows of these paper binders, but CRIO completely can replace all of that in electronic format. And CRIO's eSource is really more like an e-protocol. So it has alerts as you are collecting the data. It's going to trigger you based on protocol requirements, out of range values. It's going to perform conversions and calculations and flag any missing information. So it's basically like, I like to describe it as like having somebody who's completely memorized the protocol sitting right next to you as you're collecting the data. So some examples of how CRIO can kind of flag and remind you of different things are here. For example, in the protocol, it might say vitals should be taken in sitting position. How can we ensure that they actually are taken, considering, as we all know, your CRC is not going to sit there with the protocol and the patient and read the entire protocol and ensure that they're staying compliant. How do we ensure that vitals are really going to be taken 5 minutes after the patient position? When you're writing this on paper, you could accidentally write the wrong time, all of these things. So this is a little video that we have here just showing the CRIO solution and how this is going to work. So as you see, we do the conversions. I'm going to type in here temperature in Fahrenheit, and it's going to automatically convert to Celsius. Also, when we get down to patient position time here, if I click supine, it's going to automatically trigger me saying patient's in the wrong position. So we're going to go ahead, make that change right now to sitting while the patient is still in front of me. So as you can imagine, this is just an example of all the ways that the protocol can really be embedded and automated inside of eSource. So you're going to fix the errors while the patient's in front of you instead of waiting until that query comes through from the EDC. All right, in this video, this one demonstrates, here's an additional video. This one is going to demonstrate how easy it is to put in the patient position time. You click now, it's going to automatically put it in the correct research format, the date and the time, just ensuring that maybe research naive staff, certainly that format is not the most commonly used, at least not in the US. So it certainly just makes it, again, easier, removes the chance of making mistakes. And then here's an example of how CRIO is going to flag out of range values. So if I go ahead and type in a blood pressure of 300, 200, even 180, it's going to flag me for clinical significance and ensure that I'm checking with the PI, making sure if this is an unsafe value, that the PI is aware. If I put in a value that is safe, that is a reasonable value, it's not going to flag me at all. Only when it reaches that out of range value. All right, one more video here. This one is gonna demonstrate that it can do, again, another calculation such as BMI. You can really set up CRIO to do any kind of calculation that you like. IP returning compliance is another big one. But in this case here, it shows you that if the calculation is performed and it's an unacceptable value, maybe, again, patient's not eligible, it can flag you automatically and just ensure that you take the next right motion instead of potentially trying to enroll a subject that is ineligible for the study. And then another example, I believe this is my last video. This one shows that all of the procedures on the left, they can be limited based on who you would like to complete them. So this is another way that we can automate and ensure compliance and ensure patient safety. So physical exam maybe needs to be completed by the physician. So again, when you see me click right on that physical exam, it pops up only investigators are allowed to complete this procedure. So hopefully at this point, you're starting to kind of visualize the value of using eSource. We're going to reduce protocol deviation, increase patient PI oversight, subject safety, increase efficiency. The tracking finances is a site function where you can tie an item in source directly to a financial item in the CTMS side, just ensuring, again, everything is tracked, everything is where it should be automatically. And then, of course, we're going to reduce and eliminate the paper burden of having to store that paper. Now, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the sponsor offerings. So as you can imagine with CRIO, you can create this source and you can version it and you can publish it on a higher level, and we call that CRIO Publisher. So once you've created your source in CRIO Publisher, it can be pushed down into CRIO for the sites. It's really all the same CRIO. We're only kind of separating it out just so you can kind of understand the workflow that we're going for with sponsors, CROs, even some site networks, they utilize CRIO Publisher in order to push down version tracked source documents and all of that. Then as you are capturing and finalizing source at the site level, it can all be pushed into our reviewer, CRIO reviewer, which is going to allow for real-time monitoring, data management, query, coding, and locking. So essentially what you have here is, instead of this old workflow where you're writing things on a piece of paper is getting inputted into the EDC, you are having things get directly collected on CRIO, and that is going directly into reviewer. There's no more data transcription. It is really a simple flow between creating the source and versioning it out to the sites, and then the sites completing the source, again, with all those built-in protocol reminders, all of those alerts, and then that being brought back to the sponsor on the reviewer side. And basically what you have here is better and faster data collection tools. And we can really isolate that by showing this view, which is the CRIO model over here on the left, where it's essentially entering the data once into CRIO, and it's able to be reviewed by your sponsor. Pretty much as soon as the patient leaves the office, the sponsor can review and start querying that data. Kind of the current method that is used is they're capturing it on source paper, docs, it's entered into the EDC, and then it's reviewed SDR by a CRA who flies out. Now, of course, CRAs can still review the source, but they can do so remotely. If they have to fly out and be on site, they can do so every once in a while. Doesn't need to occur as often. Then we have SDV occurring as well, which is going to be verifying between the source and the EDC. That's normally typically done by CRAs as well, either on site or remotely. And lastly, you have data management, which is going to be essentially redoing the similar steps that these previous two have already done, but it's a separate entity in itself. So again, you can start to see how all of these kind of steps that the sponsor has put in place, they've put them in place in order to reduce errors, to make sure that, of course, everything is going to be captured per protocol. Now, again, with CRIO, you're having all those protocol reminders and alerts built in up front. So all of this review and verification is really not necessary any longer with the CRIO model. Sponsors can tap into the CRIO network of sites. They're already tech enabled and they're ready, already producing higher quality, greater rates of enrollment. We have a lot of data that kind of backs this up, that our sites are really high quality, high performers, and all of that. This is some of those statistics that I mentioned. We've done case studies about reduction of protocol deviations. We've done studies about, we've only had about 5 sites being audited by the FDA. So we've kept track of all of those audit findings and really been able to isolate that by using CRIO, sites reduce their risk of audit findings. Also, we also noticed that we have increased enrollment rates, which also leads to a more diverse enrollment base. Skip that slide. Just a few more here. So in summary, for sponsors and CROs, if you adopt a tech that was designed for the endpoint user, you get less pushback from that endpoint user. CRIO, again, has historically been a site technology. We're only just now starting to allow sponsors to come in and starting to utilize that same solution. So you're going to increase protocol compliance with the eSource automation, and you're going to increase oversight and subject safety. Also, you can allow for real-time remote monitoring and reduce or completely eliminate source data verification. Reduce that paper storage burden and reduce the site burden of transcribing data into EDC. So as far as the sites and why would a site want to pay their own money to adopt the CRIO solution? Again, all the things I've pretty much already said, increased efficiency being really key. Centralized operations, most of the majority of the site networks out there are using CRIO in order to centralize a lot of their operations. And then this gets to the question you asked me before, Momo. This is, how do we think that this is going to affect the industry? So as I kind of already showed you with our slide previously, I'll jump back to it. We are expecting to reduce the number of data management type of strictly source data verification. We certainly expect that to be replaced with more of a data science methodology. So CRIO actually just published a blog post about that. If you are interested in learning more about what I mean by data science, I am definitely not a data scientist, so I can refer you to that blog post. It was really, really interesting information there. Also, reducing the number of steps between data collection and your sponsor receiving that data back is going to bring drugs to market faster. It's also going to reduce the cost of running a clinical trial. So maybe we can see more clinical trials, more drugs coming to market faster. We can have more reliable data because, again, there's going to be less queries. There's going to be less protocol deviations. And then something we talked about when we met previously was that CRIO can really empower new sites, and it has been doing so since 2016. We even offer a startup site discount that can really, really impact more diverse site populations. You know, we want to encourage all new sites to adopt best-in-class technology like CRIO, and we do that by offering a great discount for brand new sites coming into the industry. You know, we want to enable them and enable anyone interested in starting a site. So that's why, you know, we feel strongly about that discount that we offer. And then lastly, as you can see with all these protocol reminders and alerts and such, CRIO has the ability to really empower research naive individuals as well to enter the workforce. So hopefully we can get more Nigerians, more of every diverse population be coming into the clinical research industry, whether it's as a coordinator, a site owner, or any area, because CRIO can provide an entire structure to really kind of get things started and hopefully make it a little bit more approachable for people to enter the industry.
Wow. This was really brilliant. Thanks, Stephanie, for really kind of breaking it down. You know, the technical parts, like a lot of questions I wanted to ask. You probably just nicely answered a lot of them. And I think for a lot of us in the audience, that slide about the streamlining of the workflow, for people who work at the site, in the audience, and work as a CRA, or even work as a data manager or data management teams, and then for project managers as well, right? And I think we are beginning to see that, you know, some of the things that really give us the huge headache. So if you're in the CRO side, let me start from that point. Some of the things that really give us that huge headache, right? You know, back and forth with the sites and the CRA, and then because the CRA on the other hand is tired with all the many queries is getting from, or, you know, emails is getting from data management teams, and then project managers are like running headers together, like, hey, what's going on? Why has this not been sorted out? How come we have so many queries? Sponsors complaining. There's a lot of pressure here and there. Some of these things could have been sorted out if we had a more real-time technology. And then for those that may not know what SDV is basically the source, the source document verification, where you're actually comparing the recorded data against the source document itself, right? To ensure that they match, right?
Right,
and then,
absolutely.
Yeah, and then with that, I mean, Stephanie, if you can share it again, with that streamlined workflow, I was really interested in that. That pretty much just summarized our industry right there. Like the number of steps we had to take to actually get to the review part, you know, all the way from,
this slide here.
Yeah, this one.
I love this slide too. It really does summarize the pains of the clinical research industry and how it's interesting, because I certainly cannot speak to in depth about these processes. I'm sure some of you on this meeting, again, I appreciate you all being here. I just noticed how many more people are on than when we first started talking, but I'm sure some of you all work in some of these fields here and certainly know much more about this than I do. But I do know from what I've been told, you know, these kind of roles and positions have been inserted into the workflow for a reason. They're there for a reason. We know why they're there, because there have been errors, there have been issues, there have been concerns with the way data's been collected. And so the industry has built in risk management. It's built in people to go out to the site to check, people to go out to the site and verify. It's built in an entire industry of data management in order to ensure the data is clean. So it's there for a reason. The problem is, now that we have technology, is that reason still existing?
Absolutely.
And that's a question I pose to everybody here.
So I really love that slide. I would allow a lot of people jump in because I think we still have some time, which makes a lot of sense. We have some time to do some questions. So what we can do is, I have just one last major question for Stefanie regarding, diversity and all that. So not to kill this line of thought and this flow, I would say we should do some questions from everybody. I see Flyer has indicated to ask a question. So if you want to ask questions, you can put it in the chat or just indicate. We could do questions for another 20 minutes or so. And in the last 10 minutes, I'll ask my last question. So yeah, Flyer, go ahead, ask your question.
Thank you, Stefanie. I think this is very brilliant. I'm very curious, especially about this site, because I'm like, oh, what are the CRAs going to be doing now?
Yes.
So I guess, yeah, AI definitely is going to reshape the way things are being done in the industry. And I really appreciate what you've sent in, but I have 5 questions. I'm going to try to make it, quick. So the first thing is, how does it actually increase diversity in terms of recruitment? I know you said a little bit about it. I want you to go a little bit more in detail in that. And then when you actually build these systems, do you have people from CRIO who would work with people either from the sponsor side or from the CRO to actually put in the parameters of the inclusion and exclusion criteria to make sure that you don't have someone, for example, above 70 pounds registering the study, if that is like the cutoff? The third question is,
do you want to
okay,
stop there? Because I know I will forget them all.
Okay, all right, Stefanie. Okay.
I appreciate all the questions, though. Thank you so much for being here and for asking the questions, but I will absolutely forget them all if you continue. No problem. They're very important questions, so I want to be able to answer them to the best of my ability. And if anyone asks us a question tonight that I cannot answer, I will get back to you with an answer, because I have a great team that certainly would be happy to help. So as far as my comment about diversity, so this stat here that says CRIO sites enroll 2 times more diverse populations, this is based on a retrospective. So this is looking at our current sites and looking at how diverse the populations are. I have the case study goes into more detail, and I can definitely supply that to everyone after the fact, but it's looking back at our current sites and actually kind of noticing that, hey, when we make things easier for sites, when we automate things that should be automated with technology, they have more time to spend on enrollment. That's one of the things. And the second thing I will say is that with the CRIO solution, because things are automated, because things become easier, I think it lowers the bar for entry into the industry. And we all know that when you have people of diverse populations entering into the clinical research space at a site or anything like that, that it encourages patients to come next, because you need to be involved in the communities. And I'm speaking clearly to the choir on this end. You need to be involved in the communities in order to bring in the patients. So I think that's where that stat comes from. But in all reality, it's not like we're saying CRIO causes the increased diversity. We're really just knowing that our sites tend to be more diverse.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And your second question was regarding how does the source get built? So you have a couple of options, and I actually had a couple slides in here about that, but I jumped over it because I think it might have been a lot. But the source is quite easy to build. You at a site level, you can build it out yourself. You can also contract CRIO to do it for you. We do build source for sites. When we are working with sponsors, because there's kind of a little bit higher level, we almost always are building out the source for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely better that CRIO is building it, because in leaving that to the sites, may have issues later on with that. That's what I think, though.
Yeah. And really haven't seen that, because the majority of our clients really are building their own source, just like they're creating their own source documents on paper as well.
Right. I think that leads me to my third question in terms of your focus. Would I say audience in terms of your marketing? Would it be the site, the sponsor, or the CRO? What would you say your focus has been?
Our focus has been on site, but in the past year, since we've launched CRIO Reviewer, we are trying to outreach more to sponsor and CRO clients. Now, CROs are not always necessarily our biggest fan, I will be honest with you, because you can clearly see with this model here that things are going to change the way CROs are running research. So, there's no way for me to really easily say it other than it changes the revenue model.
Right. I understand that. Yeah.
I mean, flyers from the CRO side, just usually like, oh no, you guys.
You understand more than I do. I really believe you do.
Yeah, but to be honest, I'm really concerned about the turnover in our industry and the burnout. So whatever would make it easier, it's just that we have to be flexible as a people to adopt new technologies or techniques, so to say. But I can tell you, it's always headache trying to get a CRA in my study. So, yeah.
Yeah, and considering both sites, CROs, and sponsors, I've heard they're short-staffed. So when people say to me, oh, we're concerned about, jobs disappearing in, say, data management because there's not as much SDV, I kind of do question that, considering that right now we're looking for people, we're desperate for people to fill these roles. In addition to the fact that if we do simplify our model of bringing drugs to market, we can bring more drugs to market, which means more studies, which means more jobs. You know what I mean? So it's all an ebb and flow.
Okay, thank you. I'll let others go now. Thank you so much for answering them well. And sorry, last thing, you did talk about some paperwork that you have on CRIO's website. If you could kindly share the links, probably your, I think data science. Yeah. Okay,
data science, and I'll send over the diversity one as well.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Sounds good. Thank you.
And now to talking about jobs, right? To jump on that flyers part, right? So I mean, just my suggestion. I don't know what others think in the audience as well. And for those of us working in the sites, right? I see my site people, they are here as well. I mean, this could also mean that many more people who were scared to get into the site game may want to kind of give it a shot. Right now, since we're having a good chunk of technology firms supporting because this is like the main part, right? Being able to satisfy your sponsors, generating and creating e-source, ensuring that you have as little queries as possible, because that's good for the site, right? When the CRAs come, well, we were able to do everything really speedily. And I mean, sponsors want results. I mean, Flyer knows that a lot from being working on the sponsor side. They want results, they want numbers, they want to see these things ASAP, and they want to see things moving ASAP as well. I mean, there could be several, because there are already a ton of things that could cause bottlenecks and back and forth. So we don't want data back and forth queries should be something we have to deal with. So do we see, I mean, this is a general question as well to Stefanie, do we see more sites popping up? And maybe I will just jump in with my question that I've always had was, for you guys, for example, you work in New York, you work in the United States. I know there's way more sites, networks, and all that there, and independent sites as well. Have you seen a lot of more diverse sites? Have you seen more people taking bolder steps with engaging technology? And then people in our community as well, like Black people, Africa, that's what they call the ACB community, the African Caribbean Black community. Have you seen more of those kind of moves, from your experience and from, engaging? Because of course you're in business exec, so you probably see these things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have noticed an uptick. I've been at CRIO about a year, so it's hard to say, over a longer period of time, but I think in my short period of time at being at CRIO, I have noticed more new sites, and also more sites with owners who are diverse populations. It partially might be due to I've been making, more attempts to speak with communities like yours. I think in the last couple of months, I've just been realizing how much an effect I can try to have myself, and my company is open to it. So I try to make sure I'm engaging every community and even if it's just having a conversation, like this. So maybe that might be why my attention is being drawn to it. It's hard to say, but I do think that it creates a way for somebody to enter into that business model. It lowers the expectations because you have kind of a structure to surround yourself in.
Wow, absolutely. And so far, like because again, another thing is, with companies like CRIO, we're gonna also have more people trying to develop and upskill in terms of jobs now and how it benefits our community. For example, people are going to try to get skills like this that could really, because again, like I know when we had the conversations, Stephanie, at the time, like some weeks back, when I said, well, it's possible that you could even have a situation whereby they now say, are you CRIO certified or stuff like that? Yeah. So just like EMR knowledge and some of this EDC knowledge and all some of this software, you know how to use Viva, you know how to use this, you know how to use RedCap. We may see a situation whereby things like this may now become the norm. CROs may want to push for this on their own end to make their life easier and to make their job a lot more enjoyable, because a lot of CROs are also burning out and running away from one role to another, especially for complex studies like or complex therapeutic areas like oncology, and then some other like rare diseases as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
also, and also so far, what is CRIO, like how is CRIO trying to also like engage diverse communities generally? What have your experience been like? How they're trying to encourage more people to either come into technology as employees and take up more of this technology, data scientists, data management, because with more expansive work in different parts of the world, you may need people from diverse areas to actually, join your team at some point. And then, also on the other side, encouraging people, hey, you can even open a site as well. We're here to support, with like you said, discounts and all those kind of stuff. So how has that been for you guys, and what have you seen so far?
Yeah, so CRIO is still kind of, we started in 2016. So I say that we are no longer a tech startup, but we are still somewhat scrappy is kind of the word I like to use. We are still a small organization. We have 70 plus employees, but most of them are engineers. They're actually building our product. So what we have tried to do to ensure we're participating in the conversation is we have a diversity panel that meets every other week. So we write blog posts about diverse communities. I am hoping that I can have write a blog post about you all. There's one coming up shortly that is going to be about Arabs in clinical research, in an organization that is very new and forming in that community. And I have done work as well with Black women in clinical research, and spoken for them as well. So wherever CRIO can try to tip the scales a little bit, we do try. And definitely, calling it out too. I'll give you a little bit of a heads up. We're doing a protocol analysis on the protocols because we create source for sites, right? So we thought it would be interesting from our perspective as a vendor to look at the current protocols that we have that we're building, the newer protocols, and see how our sponsors responding to the diversity draft that came out from the FDA. Are they taking that and are they incorporating it in their protocols? To be determined, I'll have to say, because the information has not been out yet, but I will say that CRIO is going to be talking about that. We're not going to be shy on saying what we see in the industry when it comes to, at least for sure, this diversity. It is absolutely necessary and it's long overdue.
Absolutely. You've been awesome so far. So I don't know, are there other guys? I don't know if anybody wants to jump in and ask like more questions here. I have a lot of people from the side. I don't know why you guys haven't asked questions.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, no, please go ahead. Please raise up your hand. Let's
I did already.
Okay, good. Yeah, go on. I'm just seeing it now. Yeah, go
on. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for an excellent presentation. It was really straight to the point and concise. So a lot of your presentation focused on
improving site efficiency, like in terms of streamlining the workflow for sites, with reference to the CRIO publisher. So I guess my question would be, does CRIO have a platform for site preparation for activation? That's in terms of like at the startup level, exchange of regulatory documents between the sites and the CRO or the sponsor in order to improve study startup timelines.
We currently do not have study startup. It is something on the radar for our company. We have had discussions into starting development on something like that because it's definitely a missing link for us. So currently what we do is we integrate with other solutions in order to provide that option to our clients. But it's something that we definitely want to do, especially as we grow into the sponsor space. As sponsors prepare the documents and the requirements, they can simply send them in through CRIO and you at the site can then complete them. That's kind of going to be a part of our roadmap and a part of our package moving forward. But it's something that we have yet to get to really dig into.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, because I see it as something feasible, being that there is already like a platform like the CRIO publisher where the sites can, just send documents directly to the CRIO reviewer. So I think in that same vein, there can also be an exchange of documents in terms of like regs documents and all that's needed to, start up the site and all that.
Yes, and you can absolutely give access to, if you are working at a CRIO site currently per se, you can give access to your monitors remotely to monitor and to view. CRIO will automatically anonymize your source docs. Anything in source will be automatically anonymized. And then anything regulatory wise, you can also give access to your monitors. So that part of the functionality does exist.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that was a very good question, and that's again, technology is going to do a lot of things in this industry. Zainab, you wanna take it up? Yeah.
Hello, Stephanie. Thank you very much for, as usual, your good presentation about CRIO and its offerings. So my question will be based on business development and clinical research for more people exploring other options from the regular traditional clinical research roles that we know as the clinical research coordinators or clinical research project managers or clinical research assistants. Business development is another angle or another functional role that more people could be looking into. So how does one come into that space, given your core traditional background or your core traditional functionalities, or how do you cross over from being in the clinical space to being in the business angle of things?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking such a great question, because I did want to bring that up as well. Certainly anybody who has a clinical research background, you have more opportunities than more opportunities than I know. There are so many ways. For example, at CRIO alone, not just business development, but working as a product manager. Product managers help develop product in their roadmap. I mentioned, CRIO's roadmap and where we want to take our product in the future. We have an entire team of people who are in that line of our business. We also have individuals who build source documents. We have customer support agents. There are so many jobs, and I told this to somebody who was in Black Women in Clinical Research when I was meeting with them. You don't know until you ask, you don't know until you network. So I actually think it would be a great resource, and I'm happy to take a few minutes after this and maybe type up a suggested list of positions that I at least know CRIO has. And then that could be something you could at least search amongst yourselves and really see, all of these positions are out there, and you can't be in these positions unless you know about these positions. And I'll be honest with you, I probably didn't really know that I was a good fit for sales until I gave it a try. And you have to, as far as for business development, I think it's all about your attitude and your personality. I personally, like I said, I did not expect my life to direct me to business development. But when I had my interview, I thought, I'm going to try this. I believe in the company. We'll give it a try. I was shocked to find out everybody thought I was a natural and thought I had probably had business development experience. And I had no idea it was in myself. So you don't know until you try, until you talk to somebody who maybe can provide insight onto, if you like to speak, if you like to talk, if you think you can do presentations like this, then I encourage you to, consider business development.
And just to add to that, I know, Stephanie, when we had that conversation, our first conversation, I had to ask you at some point, like, you love your job, and you're like, I absolutely love it.
That's the thing too, is I think passion helps. So if you believe
exactly,
in the company,
it helps. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's true of any job. If you like what you do, you're gonna do it better.
Absolutely. There's a huge motivation to wake up every day to go to work, like a huge one.
Yeah.
I mean, great questions, Zainab. Thanks for that. So guys, more questions. We have 5 more minutes to go. You have more questions, guys, before we allow Stephanie jump off. She's been awesome tonight.
Fauzia is raising her hand.
Oh, Fauzia, why can't I see this? Oh, Fauzia, I'm so sorry. Oh yeah, site. Yeah, let's go. I wanted somebody from the site. Yes, Fauzia.
Yeah, I'm actually not from the site. I'm actually from the CRO as well. Thank you, Stephanie. As usual, brilliant presentation. But I think I was a little, I was one step ahead of you because while you were talking, you said something about employment, you just having more developers work with you. And thankfully, I think there's a twist in the conversation now going to more roles that people including cool research can consider. But I've been to your site, I didn't see anywhere where I could find jobs that are available. So while you compiling the list, please kindly put the link to find the jobs, because for some of us, we have this tech background and we have what it takes for other things, implementation specialists and stuff like that as well. So please, if you have the link to get more job vacancies on your website, please kindly drop it as well.
Absolutely. So currently CRIO, and I apologize if I may have misconstrued this, but currently CRIO is not hiring. But what I meant by a list of potential business or potential opportunities is I would be happy to provide a list of types of positions. And what that does is it again, you can't be a product specialist if you don't know what a product specialist does, if you don't know about being a product specialist. And then you can take that and you can certainly, expand the types of people you're connecting with, expand the companies you're learning about. I certainly recommend LinkedIn. I wouldn't be here without spending probably way too much time on LinkedIn. I didn't really like LinkedIn prior to working at CRIO, but I've come to be a firm believer that your network is your net worth. And that's what Danielle from Black Women in Clinical Research always says. Your network is your net worth. And so connect with, in fact, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and paste my LinkedIn profile, my email, and my office number in the chat. And if anyone else wants to paste their LinkedIn in the chat, I'd be happy to automatically connect with you. But you certainly can connect with me and I will accept. And then certainly, go through my connections and see, what kind of positions do you want? Message them, shoot them a message, say, you're interested in learning about their position. You want to know more. It doesn't hurt to ask people out there to talk to you about what they do and if they have openings and all of that. And I certainly try to share openings as well as much as I can on my page.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie, for that. Yeah. Any more questions? I'm still looking out for more questions, guys. More questions from anybody? Those with tech or thinking of considering tech backgrounds or tech roles. That's something that gets you going in the morning, like we just discussed. Or busy development.
I was thinking that Paul would really say something, being in the tech side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't even know what to say, but it's been a very good presentation. I could relate with everything Stephanie was talking about, because that's what I do currently. And at the same time, I was just, at some point, I had thought about, I think I will eventually sell software again. So maybe I will come back.
You were having
sell,
vivid imaginations of software selling.
Of software selling. And I've connected with Stephanie. I've sent connection requests. So I will take up this conversation from here. Thank you so much for coming.
Of course. Please, anyone feel free to send me an email, LinkedIn message me. I am here, and one of my other slides I skipped over. I'll just share it right now because I lied. I said I only tried to make one joke, but I tried to make two because I quoted you, Momo, in the beginning. I asked you, what is the point of your organization? And you said to scale up the Nigerian clinical research community. And I just absolutely love that. So I'm glad I could be here and be a part of it. And I want to help scale up your community as well if I can. And if I can be of any assistance, just please let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something we, from the leadership side for Nigerians in clinical research and pharmaceuticals, in Canada will be taking up as well regarding the. I think you said something about the blog posts from CRIO. Yeah, I think that's something, maybe we could talk about that as well on the side. So yeah, it's been an absolute wonderful conversation we've had with Stefanie Pharma. She's an amazing, business development executive for CRIO. We talked a lot about technology and the way it's going to affect the workplace and what's going to look like and how it is making work a bit more efficient for a lot of us. I didn't see some of our CRAs today. I wish they were here to come and say, yeah, this is what we need and this is what we should be pushing, when we get back to our meetings in the office, But again, like I said, it's good we know what the industry trends are. It's good we know as a community. It's good we know where to start thinking ahead, because you need to start thinking ahead of the game. The industry looks like it's going to be with DCT, digitalized trials coming in. I think it's important that as a community, we move with the times. Maybe not necessarily stay stuck with the past. Let me put it that way. And Stephanie has really given us some insight into how that is. I'm also curious to know how things are going, and I'm hoping, yes, it would be lovely to see presence in Nigeria someday. I mean, who knows? Some of us have very good connections back home and networks as well, that can easily, be a great ground laying for technologies like this, because clinical trials in itself and the clinical trial industry in Nigeria is also just popping up as well. So it's been an amazing 1 hour talking to you, Stephanie. I really do appreciate it. I know we keep on doing a lot of back and forth. There's going to be a lot of areas we're going to kind of interact. And I think I'm just curious, a quick question as well. Like, I wanted to know, are you, your background, are you Hispanic? Because I've always wanted to ask, but I think I've always forgotten to ask that.
That's okay. No, actually, I'm Italian.
Wow. Okay, I didn't see that coming. Okay. Italian. Okay.
Yep, 100%. Both my mom and my dad, both 100% Italian.
Because I was like, I'm not so sure if she's Hispanic or she had, because it sounded that, but it was good I asked and it was good to clarify it. Cool. So yeah, so I think we'll keep having this conversation back and forth, and anything we can collaborate on. I mean, and I know Ray very well. I know Raymond very well. I follow him and I follow all the conversations with Dan. So it's been great having you here. We really do appreciate you, from everybody here, from the leadership, from the community as well. We do thank you for coming to spend 1 hour with us, taking time out of your busy schedule and just sharing really your story and what technology is doing with CRIO for clinical research industry. So guys, it's a wonderful day or a wonderful time to close this session. And I'll be talking to you guys in our next edition. That will be on the 14th, sometime in August. So guys, let's keep it real and let's stay blessed and stay safe. Okay. Bye guys.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, Mama. Sorry I joined late. Hello?
Hey, hi.
This is Shay speaking. I just wanted to ask, is there a recording of the event?
Yes, this one is recorded. So I'm just gonna I'm just trying to put Stephanie's contact in the email, in the chat, in the WhatsApp group. So yeah, but this event was actually recorded. So yeah, probably be able to request it at some point. All right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for putting everything together.
Yeah, no worries.
Hope to join earlier for other sessions. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. You're good. All right, bye guys.
Bye.